The third of the doshas, the densest one, is kapha. Kapha is earth contained in water. So naturally, it has a heaviness, a density to it, and it's slow. Actually, the characteristics, I should say, of kapha is cold and heavy and slow. Um, it is what actually gives shapes to a body. We wouldn't be able to have a body if there was no kapha dosha inside of us. Okay. Now, the heavy cold and very moist as well, due to, of course, the water, is therefore something that we can find in cold climates, of course, very easily. And we will also notice when we are in a cold climate, when we're in winter, somewhere where winter is very strong, let's say, like in the closer you get to the poles, you will find in yourself that there is a slowing down of the organism. There is a slowing down, there is a calming down, because actually the kapha element is very strong and dominant in the air, and therefore the kapha element in you is also aggravated. Now, if the other two are a question of aggravation, in the sense that we're basically spreading ourselves too thin, like the vata would do, or burning the candles in both ends, like the pitta would do, then for kapha, it's actually the opposite. Okay? So kapha is accumulation of things. It's binding things together. So it's all that sticky in the body, all our fluids in the body, the mucus, all of that. And it means as well that it has a very belonging feeling. It has a forgiving and a family kind of sensation to it. There's a fidelity in the qualities when it comes more to the mental level. If we would look once again into nature and typical animal representation of this dosha, then we would more have, the look at the tortoise or the elephant. Now, what's very specific with these animals as well is that they live for a very long time. They use their stamina very well. So they breathe much slower, they move much slower, and they live for many, many years. Okay, there's the loyal, never forgetting, like the elephant, aspect of the kapha element. When it comes to your physical body, when it comes to the seat in the digestive system, just like the other two, where vata was based in the colon and pitta is based in the small intestines, then the kapha would be based in the stomach itself. Okay, and so this is where we would then notice, for instance, that as soon as we feel heavy in the stomach because we're not actually really digesting the food that we're eating, then we know that it is the kapha dosha that has been touched a little bit, and there might be an imbalance going on there. In the body, when it comes to the skin, the eyes, the hair, and all of that, like I was mentioning for the other two, we will see the representation of kapha in the very oily and smooth parts of ourselves. So a kapha-dominated person will have a very oily and smooth skin. They will never get any wrinkles, for instance. Almost as old as they get, they will not get any wrinkles. We will have the big, quite watery eyes. So if you would compare the three, as I was mentioned, the vata people have quite small, thin eyes. The pitta, who's then in between the two, has quite strong look out on the world and has very captivating look, beautiful, big, intense eyes. Now, the kapha has that aspect without the fire in it. So this means almost like those that you would see in cartoons when they paint the big eyes on cartoons that just seems like the puppy eyes. That's more of the kapha aspect in it. It's very loving in that sense. It's loving and forgiving. It's very devotional. The hair is thick and shiny. The nails, all of it. it's all very nourished, okay? It's really the nourished part of ourselves. So you can see maybe through that how Vata and Kapha are really the opponents. They're really opposite to one another in that sense. Um, when it comes to um, the personality of a Kapha person, we will also find this slowness, this calm, kind of um, comforting person. Um, Mentioning, like for the other two doshas, how we deal with activities and food and drinks, for instance, a kapha person will be slow in eating and drinking and will, for instance, most probably drink small sips throughout the day, which is really what's very often recommended anyway. They will not forget like the vata person do, or they won't just get it all in there like the pitta person does. No, they will be quite rational in this and just drink very slowly throughout the day. They will have a tendency to maybe skip meals, not because they forget about them, but because actually they don't need to eat as much as the other two doshas, because their digestion is slow. And so there's this part of everything is in endurance, okay? So we can eat slowly because we burn slowly, and then therefore that will last for a very long time. So for instance, if when it comes to waking up in the morning, the vata person might not have breakfast because they forget about breakfast because they're out and running or doing something else instead. The pitta person will most probably have to force themselves to not have breakfast because there's a risk that they will be hungry quite soon after waking up. But they will probably do some kind of strong physical activity as soon as they get up in order to burn also the excessive pitta that they might have when they're getting out of bed after having been still for so many hours. Whereas the kapha person might actually just miss out on breakfast because maybe they're not really, get going yet. It's hard to get the digestive system to start, so they're not really hungry when they get up. And they would probably rather, stay in bed a little bit longer anyway. It's probably more interesting. So that's how we would see also the difference between the three personality types. Now, when it comes to touching into the imbalances, of course, what we will see then in the kapha is a tendency to accumulate as well. For instance, fat. So one of the things that we can see in the body of a kapha person that is not balanced is that we're not digesting at all very well, which means that we're not good at transforming the nourishment, the food, into energy and to make muscles. But it will stay on us, and we might even feel quite weak actually because we're finding it hard to digest. And then because it's not being used properly, it's then transferred and stored as excessive fat in the body. Because of this side of the accumulation as well, not only will there be a tendency then to put on weight, but there will also be a tendency, if not balanced, to just not wanting to do anything. So actually, the mental illnesses linked to depression are seen then more as a kapha imbalance in the body. All right, there you have now the three doshas, getting a little bit more an idea of what this looks like in the person. And then we're going to take this more into understanding how that came to be in order to also more easily recognize ourselves in that in the next video.